Today, we will explore why BJJ is so addictive and the True Grappler Archetype. In this video series, we will explore the reasons behind our willingness as BJJ practitioners to keep getting smashed by more skilled opponents. Why those who start BJJ sometimes become addicted, all those Reddit BJJ Save My Life posts, the need for community, the need for hierarchy, and much, much more. But for now, make an acai smoothie, put on your favorite rash guard, and wrap your fingers in monkey tape as we explore the True Grappler Archetype. Humans have grappled for as long as we have been alive, and in fact, grappling has been depicted in 15,000-year-old cave drawings in France. But where did this need for grappling come from? Did we wake up one day and decide to create a combat system, or was it something that already existed in our history? Well, research suggests that we have grappled long before our conscious minds made sense of it. In mammals, grappling is a necessary social construct which teaches boundaries, hierarchy, and invokes a hormonal response. Particularly in higher functioning mammals, grappling has been shown to increase activity in our brains. The system of learning and development dates back at least 160 million years, and a core part of this system is rough and tumble play, which is defined as vigorous behavior. It has its own distinct neural pathways and motivation circuit, which means that it evolved alongside us as a necessity or as something with great benefit. It is one of our fundamental means of releasing rewarding neurohormones like dopamine, endorphins, and opioids. Neurohormones are important molecules that are secreted into the blood for systemic effect. A simplified example of a neurohormone would be dopamine release after drinking a few too many beers. The alcohol makes our body release dopamine, which makes us feel good. So why does grappling release rewarding neurohormones? Well, BJJ is intrinsically rewarding to humans and has been argued to be one of evolution's most powerful solutions to help animals develop into physically strong, socially well-adjusted, and cognitively flexible adults. How does BJJ do this exactly? Firstly, it's important to realize that BJJ is not what releases rewarding neurohormones or is good for our development. Rough and tumble play, however, is. Rough and tumble play in infancy releases BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is essentially like fertilizer and stimulates neuron growth in many regions of the brain. On the flip side, when our neurons die naturally as part of the aging process, we lose our memories, and neuron death is linked to many debilitating diseases such as Parkinson's and Huntington's disease. Its importance extends from our infancy into adulthood, where we maintain and hone our abilities. In fact, some studies on rats suggest that altruism co-evolved with roughhousing. This is significant because it means in higher functioning mammals, roughhousing came from a sense of community and wanting to display moral behavior. This makes more sense when we take a look at the data from a study conducted on rats. An interesting point that one study found is that weaker rats will invite play with stronger rats as long as the weaker rat maintains a win ratio of at least 30%. The stronger rat would only choose to lose if they had some moral sense about the other rat. Think back to every time your coach has helped you get a submission, or how many times you have held back on a lower skilled opponent who is perhaps not as strong or as big as you. If you are the smallest in your gym, then think about what you would do if you were to roll with a child smaller than yourself. What kind of animal goes all out when hunting a rabbit? So, what does this all mean for BJJ? It further augments that altruism co-evolved with roughhousing. We can see this altruism come to light in our everyday lives. In jiu-jitsu gyms around the world, a more skilled opponent will feed submissions and opportunities as part of their lower belt's learning development. Jiu-jitsu practitioners train with each other and develop a sense of belonging and a relationship with everyone. The sense of community and wanting to better the tribe strikes at the very core of who we are. We want our community to be stronger. We want everyone to be at their best, so when competition time comes, they can put on the heat. We care about the development of the people in our community, so we help them along by presenting to them opportunities that will ultimately make them better. But we will smash them on occasion to make sure they know where they stand in the pecking order. Though we have belts to display the hierarchy, so this is not so much of a necessity as it is something we do for fun nowadays. The humble white belt already knows of his impending doom when he meets the eyes of the black belt with finger tape wrapped around each of his fingers and a knee brace on his knee as he wobbles to the center of the mat. More on the belt system in a later part of this video series. As communal mammals, we need to establish a hierarchy within our communities. Luckily for us, we don't have to fight to the death. We are much more civilized. We simulate murder. If we accept that altruism did in fact evolve with roughhousing, then we must accept that having a community surrounding us is also a part of our history. Perhaps this is another reason for strong adherence rates among BJJ practitioners. And before you wag your finger at me, when I say strong adherence rates, I mean for people who realize that BJJ is something they love. These practitioners even sacrifice their own health for the sake of not skipping training. Think about it. How many people do you know that have a semi-permanent injury that would heal if they simply took a couple of months off? It's this maddening exhibition of human behavior that tells us there is something deeply rewarding to our primal brains about BJJ. For those who are more experienced, I am sure you have seen more people come and go than you know on a first-name basis. But for those who do catch the BJJ bug, it becomes a lifelong habit. And for those who quit after a few lessons or after being humbled, well, I have a theory about them in the later part of this series, so please remember to subscribe. You could argue that the same is true for other forms of sports, but the key difference is that BJJ is a community sport that has deep links to our evolution. Take a look at these figures for adherence rates between individuals participating in communal activities versus solo activities. This study looks at older Japanese people and analyzed their adherence rates. A key takeaway from this study was that individuals who exercised alone had a higher incidence of poor self-rated health, whereas those who exercised in groups rated themselves as healthier. Though this could be due to many other reasons, as the study also delves into socio-economic factors. The study also concluded that exercising in a group had more health benefits than exercising alone. Many of these reported benefits are not physical. Data suggests that communal activities help our emotional and mental state. So if we theorize that grappling is a part of our history, and that it is part of who we are as people, then what happens when we take grappling out of the equation? What happens when we take what is supposed to be a fundamental part of our life out of our development? Well, you can find out in the next series of the True Grappler Archetype. Explain what happens when we take out a fundamental part of our development.